Hey people, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. You might want to watch this one. It's got a whole heap of tips on getting your front bearings replaced, pressing them together yourself, or buying them already assembled. A few pitfalls to avoid with fitting and getting them together. Save you a lot of headaches. Hey people, it's Monday the 5th of December, and I just thought I'd do a video to help mainly a lot of people, everybody with all makes and models, but particularly the people that have got the Hiluxes like the KUN 26 Hilux or Vigo, that are one day going to replace the front wheel bearings. Not here to sell you wheel bearing sets because I'm already sort of flat out. As many as we can. That's why we can only do Australia, and we're struggling to do that. But a few tips for fitting them and stuff like that. So not only are you paying for all the components, you know, the bearing, the seal, the bolts, the hubs, getting it all put together, but this is just to give you an idea for a start how they come. So these are the genuine as they come out of the box. There's a lot of this really gooey stuff, dries up hard. You've got to get these out of the plastic. Be careful with blades that you don't, you know, if you're going to do this yourself, that you don't damage any of the surfaces. Then you've got to clean all this stuff off. Anyway, long story short, we clean obviously here where we've got to press the bearing on, what you can see here, the majority. But somebody's contacted us recently, and like a lot of people that haven't contacted us, he, like a lot of people that haven't, yeah, including ourselves, sometimes have a bit of trouble getting these drive shafts into the hub, okay? On the Hiluxes, we've noticed they generally tighter fit, more of a PITA than the Prado ones. The Prado ones generally just sort of slip straight in. So if you're watching our videos, the playlist, changing the front hub bearings, all that information, check that out. Check out that playlist for your information there. We've done a lot of Prados and they generally go straight in. We haven't done a lot of Hiluxes, never do as many Hiluxes, probably just don't see as many Hiluxes in the Prado hospital after all, other than for injectors and stuff like that. And but we have noticed they are a bit tighter. So just make sure before you go to install it, you give the inside a good clean out. We use brake cleaner. I probably recommend getting some rags, some toothbrushes and stuff like that, cleaning those splines and lubricate them up a little bit. But I still think you're going to find a bit of resistance. So I hope that helps. We've got a fair bit of other information I'm going to include in this video, but that was the most important one. Also, of course, when this is pressed onto the bearing, make sure you don't spray brake cleaner and everything into the bearing. We don't want to wash the grease out of the bearing, all right? Now, I'll get these unpacked and cleaned up. I'm do these four. I'm doing 4 at the moment just for example purposes. It's probably going to take me about 20 minutes to clean those up to a satisfactory standard. So there you go. Stay tuned if you want maximum information because there'll be more to come. So this is literally what you're faced with once you get the plastic off. See this rust-proof coating, but see it's rock hard. You've really got to scrape the thick stuff because obviously dissolving that with brake cleaner takes a fair bit of time, but if you're going to do it yourself, that's what you do. Obviously they spray them and they set them this way and it all runs to the bottom of the bag. Awesome. But what I'm saying is there's going to be quite a few tips in this video, so stick around. Clean these splines here because only the lightest coating will cause resistance in there. So this is where you want to probably sit it like this. Get your toothbrush, spray a bit of, have it sitting on a rag at the bottom so it can soak it up, and spray your brake cleaner and get your toothbrush and just have a good look in there with your light on, not like this in the dark, and make sure it comes clean. That way, obviously your bearings here, as long as it's not going to the bearing, if you're spraying this side, there's more chance you could probably miss and get it into the bearing, whatever. The bearing's going to kind of finish about there. So if that's sitting on a rag, it's just what comes out this hole here straight onto the rag. It's not going to get in the bearing at all whatsoever. So cleaning this side. The other thing, another update in case you are getting hubs from us, these assemblies all pressed together, ready to go. We've done all the work for you. You don't have to get the 6 or 8 different components from different places and get it all together. Bada bing, it's just bada bing done. But please understand, because there was one other person that missed it until he kept watching videos in the front wheel bearing playlist, that we no longer supply the ABS rings and the spacer there. You can either have the spacer or the ABS sensor, and there's another retainer spacer there. You can have those if you ask them specifically, but it's extra charges on top and you don't need it. We've demonstrated in a number of videos now that you can just gently use a screwdriver and gently, slowly pry those off. It doesn't take much pressure at all whatsoever. They don't need to be pressed on or off. You can tap them on with a hammer. You can gently lever them off with a screwdriver. That's saving a couple of components, that because the Hilux has got more components than the Prado, trying to keep the cost down. So rather than price going up, now I've got to say while we're at it, These are awesome value for money at 1,100 bucks for the pair. It's a lot too much money for some people. Poor man pays twice. They'll do it the other way. That's fine. We don't have an issue with that. But we understand a lot of people won't do it this way because it is a lot of money. So they'll pull their hubs off. They'll split them. They'll use old rusty ones here, and the rusty part will be rubbing against the seal. They won't last as long. They'll get cheaper version bearings and all that sort of thing instead of the genuine proper Koyo, whatever the case may be, using all new seals. We supply the new O-ring and the 2 new seals. It just doesn't come with the ABS sensor or those 2 bits on the back. If you watch the playlist, you'll see what I mean. But like I said, not trying to sell you any. Soon it's going to be restricted to VIP only. We're almost there only that we're not going to take any new clients. Yep, this is something that could happen. Look, we're just maxed out. The Hilux stuff, it's going to be, for Hilux front hubs, is going to be pickup only, so you're going to need to be around Melbourne. It's going to be VIPs only. Things like that are going to have to come into place because we just can't continue to expand and be just overextending ourselves. So hope you understand, but stay tuned because I'm here to get you educated so you can do it yourself if that's what you choose to do. If you listen carefully enough, you'll know what day to contact me and what they're worth. Come and pick them up. They're pretty heavy, so you'll save a fair bit if you come and pick them up, and we don't have to send them, and we don't have an EFT machine here, so remember to bring the folding to pay for it. And happy days, bada bing. I'll get these cleaned up. I'll let you know how long it took. What a mess. This is the part I really don't look forward to. So this is the next stage where it's at. All this stuff is what we've scraped off there, what we could, So about 5 minutes worth or so, just getting that stuff. We'll clean that up because it's really sticky stuff. It just sticks. It's like sitting in bubble gum. Bloody, you know when you go to the movies and you, oh no, yeah, some punk stuck the bubble gum on the seat and you forgot to check it because it was dark. You couldn't see properly. And then next thing you know how hard that is to get out of your... And if you don't notice it, then you'll stick it in your car seats as well. Yeah, so we've got 2 half done versus 2 not done. See the mess? Still working on it. This is just the first. You really got to soak the rag in the brake cleaner, whatever you're going to choose to use, and just get it to really soak in. You get what I mean? So we're doing all the worst of it here for pressing the bearing on, but there still could be a bit in the splines in there. We're not cleaning that. I've said it in other videos and posts. Subscribe, turn the bell on, get on our Facebook groups, get yourself educated so that when you come to doing these jobs, you don't miss all the information and you think you've got enough to get the job done, but you've missed a whole heap of it, and then you have complications and headaches, and it's just so stressful. Where if you got yourself educated and you picked up all these videos, all the tips and information, and you'll just be in a happy place. Wow, what a lot of work. I mean, thanks Thailand. It's the Hilux thing, so it's probably Thailand. See what I mean? So we clean the buggery out of it here, because this is where a bit of grease goes on here. This is where our bearing goes on. So you can copy all my information if you like and not purchase these from me. See, it just doesn't bother me. I'm going to tell you a little story. It's really important. Spoke to someone the other day. I like to use specialists if there's a specialist area. Let's use an example. Say a diff specialist, right? Or a power steering specialist or a transmission specialist. Let's just say I spoke to a specialist the other day and I said, hey, mate, and I sent him a bit of work. He's not really a nice guy, but I sent him a bit of work. He does okay. I mean, he specialises in that. I wouldn't say he's the best, but I mean, look, let's just put it down. The fact of the matter is diffs are not that complicated, are they, right? So anyway, as you'll see and as you know if you watch the videos, I did my own because that's how hard they are. But I said to him, hey, what's the best way to, I asked him for a little bit of info. Like if he asked me, if he said, hey, mate, I'm doing a set of injectors on my car, mate, I'm going to give him whatever information he wants. Guess what? I just gave it to hundreds of thousands of people, mate. It's all over YouTube, right? Anyway, he says to me, he goes, oh, that's my profession, mate. If I gave that out, that'd be like giving out yours. Obviously, he doesn't know what I do, you know what I mean? So just thought I'd put it out there, right? The gift of giving. When you give, you'll receive big time, even more. And that's worked for me. So I'm here to say, if you want to go and buy these and do all this work and put them together yourself, I welcome you to, because you know what? I don't really want to do these anymore, or never really wanted to, did I? But the main part of the video is, I'm not trying to sell you or unsell you. Look, fact of the matter is, they're here, they're available for the people that want them. The information's here to help people that want to do it themselves. We've got all bases covered. Now, I like the rust-proof coating. That's why I prefer to leave it there. Think about the old rusty hubs on the car. They're all old and rusty, right? Well, if this stuff works, this isn't enough to throw it out of balance. It's not going to melt or anything like that and cause any problems. Let's have a look at the other side. So I give This area here, a quick wipe, only a quick one. So you've got a light coating on the face still. It's not grease, it's not going to come off, it's not going to get on your brakes. It's a sticky stuff, I don't know what it is. Someone can put it in the comments because they'll know what it is. But my point is you need to clean in here. This is your job, okay? Like I explained at the start, make sure that's clean, because if you've got sticky stuff in the splines, it's going to make it hard to put back together. And notice how long you need to hang around. I'm going to say it again and again and again, because then when you come around to this job, you're not going to forget it. You're not going to stuff it up and go, oh, that's right, you know, whatever. We don't want brake cleaner in the bearing either, right? Remember the way I said to do it? Just think, don't rush things. Think before you do it, right? Now, while we're at it, I just want to remind everyone, thanks for the people that listen, but don't bother calling the number that's a text message service for parts orders, okay? It's a text, so don't call. If you need help, you need to use our Facebook groups, the resource, okay? So keep watching our videos. You'll see pages pop up now and then in the videos that shows you all our Facebook groups. There's heaps of awesome people in different groups. There's heaps of people that are becoming more awesome too. Maybe they're not that awesome, but you know, you've got to answer the questions. You've got to agree to not swearing. If you swear, you'll get thrown out, you'll get banned, you'll get blocked, all that sort of thing. You know, you just be nice to people. Isn't it just easier if everybody is nice to each other, trying to help each other instead of trying to be a pain, right? So use those groups. If you need recommended workshops, look, it's getting a bit late in the year, right? Christmas is here, it's pretty close, or everyone's really busy. So it's probably a bit late, but you know, you just need to text me at the right time. Again, keep watching videos. There's a playlist called How to Buy My Kits. That's probably got the information you need. Look, the hot days over December, January, February, we're going to be finishing up early, start early, finish early, just for anybody that wants to know. And let's get back onto this now, right? So clean that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a final clean, a little bit more cleaning, so a few more minutes. And then we're going to apply some grease here and I'm going to press those bearings on now. I just want to give you a quick tip if you are doing it yourself. Right, obviously these are going to be up around the other way. All right, now the bearing finish is about, let's say, whatever, I'll press one on in a minute, I'll show you, but about here. That means this has got to stick through the bearing. So don't put your bearing on a flat surface like you can the Prado ones, because the Prado ones you can do this. You can put them on a flat surface. Right, although the bearing should always be supported in the center, but generally the Prado ones you can put on a flat surface and you'll get away with it. What I'm saying with these is you can't, because you'll press it, won't be all the way through the bearing. So you need to have an opening for this to go through. See, that's got to go through. Anyway, then you can just swap over your ABS sensors. Like I said, one seal's installed on the bearing, the O-ring's on the bearing, doesn't come with the bearing, and we supply that extra seal. And as I've said in other videos, we use the better seals. So out of all the seals and everything available, we upgrade you to the best of what we believe is the best available. And I'm just going to say it again. When I started doing these many years ago, I don't even remember, over 5 years, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was, they were pretty close to $1,000 a pair, and guess what? They're about the same. Postage has gone up a little bit. A few components have gone up a bit. So delivered, they're $1,100 to your door. It's a bargain when you consider how much everything's gone up. We've managed to keep the price down on those. But pickup's cheaper, like I said, and to keep the price down, we've removed those sensors. And if you want to go get your own, you can go ahead and do that. Doesn't bother me. What else can I tell you? Let's get them together. I'll think of something else to tell you. Hang on. All right, so here they are, preliminary assembled. Now, you see what I mean about the hub protruding through approximately, 15 mil, whatever. This is where your ABS or your spacer goes on, then your other retainer. It's not really a retainer, it's more of a spacer as well. So non-ABS, I'm going to call it, it's got two spacers, a thin one and a thick one. ABS has got a ABS sensor and a retainer or spacer, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, the spacer is just replacing the ABS sensor. It doesn't matter if you've got the ABS sensor on there. It's not going to matter even if you haven't got ABS. It's just a waste of money. Either way, they're pretty expensive, these little spacers and whatever. So once I realised we can reuse them, that's what we're doing, trying to save a few bucks. All right, now, one of the last things I wanted to say, really important if you're doing this yourself, this is why you hang around to the end, and it's not, I didn't save it till the end, it's just how it worked out to be. And it's putting the bolts in. Make sure you put them, so you've got to source bolts as well. They're $4 or $5 each for the genuine ones. You're going to need 4 of those per bearing, obviously, 8 if you're doing 2. Yeah, so you're up for another, just create another $40. It all adds up. These things are expensive, right? That's why I believe it's really good value for your money. And to be quite honest, I think the more I think about it, I'm going to have a little price rise on these because it's just the time it takes to do it. So for people that want quality, they'll do it anyway. It's only once every couple 100,000 Ks. And for people that want to do it themselves, you can go ahead and do that. So make sure, whatever you do, when you do this job, you just stop and think, put the bolts in, okay? And some people are saying, oh, you're speaking from experience. Well, no, for me, I saw other people did it, and then they cut hubs, and he grind this out, whatever, to get the bolt in. Crazy. When you think about it, you've only got to take one. So you could probably do it. Look, to be honest, if I was a DIY and I didn't have money and I pressed it together, especially with a new hub and everything, because it wrecks the bearing trying to get it apart. I don't care what anyone says. We've got grease, it's all new and all that, and it comes apart relative, but the way you got to pull it, it damages the bearing. It's not worth the risk. You might get away with it. It might last a while, but it's not what I'm going to provide to people. But let's just say on my vehicle, I made that mistake and I had no money, then I would certainly grind a little bit out to see if I could get a bolt in, but I'm not sure how much anyway. So I saw this many years ago. We're talking 10, 15 years ago, as soon as we started seeing photos online of people's mistakes, and I went, oh, I'm never going to do that. So, you know, that was awesome, and I pressed together hundreds of these probably, and then it was only not that long ago, maybe this year in the last 12 months, that I actually pressed one of these together. Lucky it was only one, it wasn't a whole, because I normally do 10 at a time, something like that, 10, a dozen at a time, right? So if I'd been on autopilot and pumped 12 together, then I would have been crying, but it was only one. It destroyed the bearing. We'll get to reuse the hub and the bolts, so whatever, it cost me a bearing, you get that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope all this information has helped you. This is why I think it's worth watching all the videos to the end. It's not about me, that's why I'm not in the video. It's about what we're looking at here. The next things that go on here are the O-rings that don't come with a bearing, but we supply them. And there's the seal that goes obviously directly here inside the steering knuckle, behind the CV and between the CV and the steering knuckle, to help keep all the dirt and debris out from this bearing to make it last. Some people think this is a sealed bearing. It's not a seal. It might look sealed. It is a sealed bearing. That's a type of bearing, but it's not really sealed. If you put water here, if you start spraying brake cleaner to get it in that hole and you miss and it goes here and in here, it's going into your grease. Don't do it. If you want to spray it this way, I've got no issue, but make sure you've got it down there in the hole, down there. Get your extension, you know, your extension tube thing that goes on in the hole. This isn't the right stuff, but I'm just saying, just make sure it's down there like that. Get your toothbrush, you know, no issues with that whatsoever. And obviously it's not going to get to any bearing or anything coming out there, and vice versa if you do it that way. See what I mean? It's nowhere near the bearing. It's going to come out that bottom hole there. Happy days. Don't get it all on the bearing. There's not much cleaning to do. We've done most of the hard yards. It's just the final preparation to make sure your splines can slide easy as possible. And I guarantee you, there's going to be some of this stuff, messy stuff. See, that'd be just a little speck that was on the bench here still. It's just messy stuff. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, turn the bell on. Catch you on the next one. See ya.